what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2000 Honda CR-V. Up front is a 2.0 liter inline 4 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Honda CR-V for two reasons. First of all, I really like this generation of Honda CR-V. I've been lucky enough to drive a few of them here on my channel. But the second reason is that this is a manual transmission Honda CR-V, something that I haven't driven on the channel before, so I have plenty of thoughts to go along with that. But if you would like to share your vehicle with me, you can head on over to my website, zackpreidel.com/submit. Quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out. I come out to you and you would get a video of your vehicle, just like the one you're watching now, of this manual CR-V. But let's get back to that 2-liter under the hood known as the B20. This engine was developed for not only the CR-V but also the Honda Step Wagon at the time. So it basically shares a lot of the blueprint and footprint with Honda's B18, but they made it a little bit bigger to give it a little bit more torque for heavier applications like this SUV or the bigger Step Wagon sold in Japan. It makes 146 horsepower, which is fine. It's good enough and it does the job pretty swimmingly. But like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. So the Honda CR-V was offered with a manual transmission up until 2005. 2005 was the last model year that the CR-V came with a manual here in the United States. It drives like a Honda, and I know that that should be pretty self-explanatory given the little H badge on the front. However, Hondas to me are the absolute upper tier of driving feel. When it comes to shifters, when it comes to 4-cylinder power, Honda is the biggest and best name in town. And so that carries on here to the CR-V. This manual transmission feels great. It feels amazing. It's very clicky. It's very notchy. I know exactly how it's going to respond before I even put it into gear. And that is one of the best things a manual transmission can do. Last but not least about the drivetrain, this is all-wheel drive. So not only do you get a fantastic manual transmission, you also get all-wheel drive for inclement weather and the winter, which is fantastic. My friend Adam used to own almost this exact vehicle, and it was an absolute tank in the wintertime. So big ups for the drivetrain of the CR-V. So how does it feel to actually drive the CR-V? It's good. Visibility is fantastic. It still has that 90s car visibility that I oh so crave here in the modern era where we drive our vehicles with the visibility of tanks. Steering is light. Throttle, not a whole lot goes on. It's not very fast, but it is responsive, and that transmission ties everything together with a nice little bow, making it a really nice quality driving experience. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 red-rimmed gauges. Off to the left, I have my tachometer. In the center is the speedometer, and off to the right is the coolant temperature and fuel. On the steering wheel, we just have our horn buttons and a SRS airbag, as well as cruise control off to the right. And the overall steering wheel is that very 90s plasticky sort of feeling to it. I don't love it, but it's very typical of the era. Off to the left, I have my cruise control button with 2 vents, power mirrors off to the right, power windows, and my gauge dimmer switch. Very interesting that they put the power windows up on the dash as opposed to on the door, but it does open up a lot of leg room for my left leg. Speaking of the door, we have our lock and unlock, a big grab handle, and some storage down below, but that's pretty much it. Moving into the center, we do have our climate control vents, hazard switch, and a digital clock. And then moving down, we do have the factory Honda radio with a little cubby down below. And this does have a cassette player, Dolby cassette player. Then we do have our climate controls, fan speed off to the left, temperature in the center, where to send it off to the right, along with recirculating AC and rear defrost to the right. I love that the recirculating actually has a little car with the spare tire on the back. I love that little attention to detail from Honda. Then we have our ashtray and power outlet, 12-volt outlet, and a little cubby, a little space down below, and then we come to the golf ball style shifter. I don't think it looks very nice or luxurious, but it is very Honda economy. And so I find that to be very funny and just kind of endearing too. I grew up with a friend who had one of these in manual, and so seeing this shifter really brings me back to the good old days. We have to move on to the cup holders because this is very interesting. The manual transmission CR-V from the late 90s and early 2000s gets a different cup holder system because of the manual transmission. And so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here, and it fails. But if you get the automatic with the pop-out cup holders, it passes. So, for the first time in shooting cars history, the transmission actually defines if the vehicle will fail or pass the big friggin' bottle test. Has never happened before, and that is why we test every vehicle here on the channel. But moving past that sadness, we have to talk about the seats, and the seats aren't very sad. They're very comfortable. They have this very 90s design to them. Honda really hit their stride in the 90s in almost every category. I think they're the most comfortable Hondas. I think they have the best visibility. I think they drive the best. I think they're the most reliable, and so the seats really reflect that. They're fantastic. I love them, and if I had the space, I would put these in my living room. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2000 Honda CR-V manual, and the manual transmission has nothing to do with anything back here. What is back here, though, is a lot of space. I always praise this generation or this era of Honda on their interior packaging. The Honda CR-V is not a big vehicle, but from where I'm sitting back here, it might as well be a Rolls-Royce. This is spacious and comfortable, and actually, I can now say, having driven a Rolls-Royce this year, this is about the amount of legroom that I had in the Rolls-Royce Ghost that I drove back in May. I know I always speak in hyperbole, but I'm actually not in this case, which is pretty cool. Although I do have to close the doors myself, that's where it does differ from the Rolls-Royce Ghost. But in the doors, I do have pop-out cup holders, which I don't recall the Rolls-Royce having, so another leg up for the Honda CR-V. Anyway, very 90s pattern back here, very comfortable back seats. I don't get a center console, but I do get these two fold-down armrests, things like that. But, you know, not really anything else crazy back here to note. However, let's hop around the very back. We'll talk about the trunk and tailgate, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Honda CR-V, and first of all, I have this interesting sticker that says, to prevent damage to the glass, close the tailgate before the hatch glass. Kind of interesting. So, we can pop it from in here. You come in down here, push that little button right there, and that pops open the glass. You pull it up like that, and then there's a handle over here, and you open it up. So it does have a horizontally opening rear tailgate, which is a little bit interesting and definitely something we don't see in modern CR-Vs. Once we are back here, a couple of things to note. First of all, you do have these little cubbies over here. You can take this lid off. Ooh, Mr. Lincoln, what are you doing back here? Didn't expect you. Speaking of which, here's the carriage of which Abraham Lincoln took to the theater that night he was killed. I saw that in a museum recently. Don't know how that pertains to the CR-V, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, come over here, same thing. No presidents in there. I do get a 12-volt outlet down there. Absolutely love that. And I was skeptical in the 1999 one that I drove if it was factory. It does appear to be factory. However, if you know anything about the trunk of the CR-V, you know about the table. So you pull this liner up, and the floor is actually a table. So I will try to get it on camera this time because I always fail to get it on proper camera. So you take the floor of the trunk out, and then you could just fold these legs down, fold them out. There you go. Now you have a table to do whatever you want with. I don't know what. Maybe you put some hot dogs on it, some wieners. Table for your wieners. Anyway, it does have an interesting sticker down here though that I've never read before. Using the built-in table, be sure to lock the legs of the table. Do not stand on the table. Do not put a weight of over 44 pounds on the table. Glad I didn't sit on it. Hot items such as pots, pans, or kettles should not be placed directly on the tabletop. For additional information, see the vehicle's owner manual. We might have to check that out if there's an owner's manual. But anyway, this has a built-in table in the trunk of the CR-V, which is pretty flippin' cool. Oh, we do have the owner's manual. CRV, advice for pregnant women. What if the whole page just said don't? It's a pretty cool picture, not gonna lie. Oh, look, here's someone actually using the table, the little fold-out table. Got a little doggy. She's reading. She's got 2 little cups here. He's getting a cooler out of the back of the CRV. Beautiful landscape. Love that. All right, so this says center table. Center table. To use the center table, pull up the outside edge of the table until it latches. To store it, pull the lever to lower it. There is a lever. Oh my God. I didn't know this about these. That's cool. Wow. I had no idea. Okay, next page. Sitting or getting under the table or putting heavy objects on the table may damage or deform it. Do not put it automatic transmission, model only. Oh yeah, use the beverage holder. So that's what I was talking about. This had a different center console. Kind of interesting. There's another beverage holder in each rear door. We already got that. Be careful. Big freaking bottle. Okay, the cargo area floor can be taken out and used as a table. To remove the table, pull up the carpet, lift and pull the handle to slide the table out. Unfold the legs, lock them in place by pushing the middle of the locking arms. Make sure all 4 are locked. To fold the legs, pull on the middle of each locking arm. Put the projections on the table into the holes in the cargo area. Using the built-in table, be sure to lock the legs, don't stand on the table, 44 pounds, we already read that. Center pocket for automatic transmission only. Storage box located under the front passenger seat. To pull it, lift for... Oh! I'm learning so much today. Wow. That's so cool. They weren't lying. There's a little storage box down there. What else is there? The little storage pockets we saw Mr. Lincoln in. Power socket. Oh, on the tailgate, there's a little thing that opens. Little hooks. Hooks on the rear tailgate. Ashtray. Things like that. Wow. Really, really cool stuff. I highly recommend looking through your owner's manual. Very cool. Then, like it said, you close the tailgate first. And then lower the glass, and there we go. It is locked around the back of the CRV. Now we got to talk about the looks, and I always really like the look of the CRV just because it does sort of have that creamy nostalgia when I look at it. I grew up with people, friends of mine, owning these vehicles. I've ridden in almost every year, every generation of the CRV. I have friends that own CRVs exclusively. And so whenever I see one, like, you know, that just feels like home. It feels like a Chicago Cubs game. It feels like Lou Malnati's Pizza. It feels like Jewel Osco on a Sunday morning. It feels like Odyssey Fun World for a birthday party. That's how this looks and feels to me. And so that does end up being, you know, macaroni styling. That's a term I've coined, which is not outwardly pretty, kind of mushy and bland, but comforting, you know, gives you that warm sense of nostalgia, like the Kraft mac and cheese I grew up on as a kid. So overall, I'm a big fan of that. But now, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a manual Honda CRV here for the Shooting Cars YouTube channel? It's not my first time driving a manual CRV at all. I've driven a manual second gen, but I was unable to review it because the engine mounts were so bad that the engine was actually held in by a ratchet strap to keep it from bucking, and that car was promptly sold pretty quickly. So I never got my chance to shoot it for the video. Now that I have, I am very happy with it. I think this is one of the great budget winner all-around cars that you can purchase. Really, the only Achilles heel of these cars is going to be the rust. Finding one, especially up here in Wisconsin or anywhere else in the Rust Belt, it's going to be harder and harder with each passing winter. This particular car is getting on the edge of unrepairable. At what point do you stop fighting the rust and you just make the CRV comfortable? That's kind of where this vehicle is at. But when they are rust-free and not falling apart, they're amazing vehicles. The all-wheel drive system is fantastic. And a lot of people actually cut this drive system out and put them into Civics when they want to make big power or build an all-wheel drive Civic. This is based off the Civic platform, so it's not really a big stretch of the imagination that a lot of the parts would line up. The B20 is a great engine, and if anything happens to it, which is unlikely, but if it does, there's plenty of parts around. There's plenty of Honda shops, even in the Chicagoland area, that will fix the B20 because they are so common to put into Civics as well. You're going to get a very good vehicle for the money. And so if you're looking for a vehicle that's ready to take on harsh winters right on the chin, look no further than the manual, all-wheel drive Honda CR-V. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Matt and Al for letting me take out their CR-V. They are fantastic. They also have their own YouTube channel, Wisco Shenanigans. They're always building, buying, selling, and flipping cool and interesting vehicles. Here's just a couple of the interesting cars that I've driven from them. If you recognize them on the channel, please go check out their YouTube channel. They're always up to something fun, and I can't thank them enough for making this video possible. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.